able to do ezizinto bengakwazi uqhela uzenza. At 20 past 9 emaxesheni, you're tuned into Moment of Truth with Usiba Makeleni as Sisloza. Shabula Sisloza, what an amazing show you had this morning. That was Sisloza whose social crossover tomorrow. Guess doing radio according to you, Keith and Gessi Radio, motivation, entertainment, spirituality, and current affairs. And while we're on that note of current affairs, let's take you through our latest current affairs to keep you updated in terms of what has been going on. As we all know, yesterday was Human Rights Day, and there was lots going on, lots of speeches, lots, people had quite a bit to say in terms of Human Rights Day. Should we still celebrate this day? How relevant is this day? Should it still be called Human Rights Day? So maybe let's start it off on that note. EFF, they reject Human Rights Day and they now want it to be renamed. It wouldn't be a public holiday without the EFF denouncing the world event, would it? The Red Berets have taken the opportunity to lambast Human Rights Day in South Africa, and they are now calling for a title change. Hey, should Human Rights Day change its name? Sharpeville Day, suggested by EFF. Human Rights Day is commemorated on the 21st of March every year. This is the date when scores of black citizens who rose up against the brutal apartheid regime in 1960 fought back against oppressive racially based laws. In total, 69 people died, and that sacrifice, according to the EFF, is being completely underplayed. In a statement, or more accurately, a tirade issued on Monday, the political party rallied against the use of the distem in the national anthem, the existence of the colonial era statutes in South Africa, and the jail sentence for political prisoners. All of the classic hits. Human Rights Day is the highest form of revisionism. Red Berets rip into public holiday. But the EFF made sure their main grievance got the most attention. They are now rejecting Human Rights Day as a concept and will instead be celebrating Sharpeville Day to honor the dozens who lost their lives. I mean, I think they've got a point. Why do we say Human Rights Day? And perhaps the reason why we say Human Rights Day is because, of the fact that in Gala 1960, Ngalamine Sharpeville were a group of people, of protesters who were standing up against the pass laws, saying, however, we cannot run away from the fact that lives were lost in the process. And today we are able to walk in and exercise some of those rights that those people fought for. So perhaps maybe we need to have a discussion on that, Human Rights Day versus Sharpeville Day, and maybe our viewers and our listeners can be able to justify why they may or may not agree with the EFF. Basically, I wait to my Human Rights Day because it also commemorates the adoption of our constitution and the Nomba Bill of Rights. It's also a day to recognize, perhaps, but we can do the same thing. We can recognize, we can speak, we can lift those rights that we may perhaps need to remind each other of. At the same time, it's very important that we also honor the dozens who lost their lives in Ngalamini at Sharpeville. The naming of the 21st of March as Human Rights Day is the highest form of revisionism, Sebetshilo, which must be rejected with the highest form of contempt that it deserves. Accordingly, the EFF recognizes today, which was yesterday, as Sharpeville Day. So let it be known that from now on, EFF next year, 21st of March, Sharpeville Day. This is to honor those who were slain by the apartheid government for refusing to have their movement controlled and dictated to them in their own land. We salute the brave Pan-Africanists who led them from the front. It is clear. Another thing that EFF came out boldly to say was he said that Malema uses Human Rights Day to promote Russia and denounce the ANC. I know yesterday he came out straight up to say, listen, we support Russia. We stand in solidarity. We stand in support of Moscow. But let's hear more. The EFF were in Sharpeville on Human Rights Day on Monday to commemorate the Sharpeville massacre on March 21, 1960. But for the EFF, it was a day to denounce the notion of Human Rights Day, as we have already indicated, as they say that human rights are violated in South Africa every single day. The Red Berets used the stage to air their differences with the governing ANC. They dedicated this year as the year of the branch, where they aim to have 1 million EFF members in good standing, or members who have signed up for 10 Rand with their EFF branch by the end of December. As the crowd stood in the rain waiting for the EFF leader, Julius Malema's arrival, they sang and they danced and were told the station where they could sign up. There was a gazebo where they could stand under while they signed up. The rally took place at Romo Dam in Vereeniging, where flowers, candles, and a sea of red clothing replaced the blood spilled 62 years ago, where 69 people were shot dead by police during a peaceful protest against having to carry Idombas. Malema arrived at 12:30 p.m. and made his speech after 20 to 1 emva kwemini for more than an hour. He used the platform to state the party's stance on the failings of the ANC, xenophobia, and the war in Ukraine. What are human rights without water, roads, and jobs, without free education, without land? He said. We are here at the historic site of liberation to remember those who died for us at the Romo Dam, a place where our people were killed in numbers by the regime because they were asking for their dignity. All they were saying was because we are not animals, we don't want tags on our necks. We are going to march peacefully, but the police refused to listen. We reject the name Human Rights Day, and we ought to call it its rightful name, Sharpeville Day. Calling it Human Rights Day distorts the history, takes out the value, and perhaps takes away the light that should shine on the fact that 69 people were killed, those people who were fighting for their dignity. They must be reminded permanently that the apartheid government, killed our people. What are human rights when electricity is like a visitor? The people of Mfuleni, the municipality, which includes Sharpeville, want reliable electricity. There were no human rights in the municipality when there were no jobs. Today we are in Sharpeville because we want to defy the government like those during the Sharpeville massacre. Comrades and fellow fighters, we must never forget where we come from. We are made to believe there are human rights in SA. What a mouthful, what a mouthful. Ibinkulu man imini yangomso yayizolo rather. Ibinkulu kakhulu. EFF came right out to say, listen, we support Russia, and it's quite a shame that South Africa was not upright in their stance. Lando iti Russia was with us, was behind us during the apartheid regime. Why again do we shy away from in being in support with them or standing in solidarity with them? There is also a reason as to why there is this violence or there is this ongoing conflict in Ukraine. EFF unashamedly so. We are 100% behind Russia. The attacks, or rather the war or the conflict that is ongoing. In other news, there will be no e-hailing options in Gauteng for 3 days as drivers protest. A group affiliated to a private public transport association said on Monday they drafted a memorandum and would head to the union buildings in Pretoria, where they plan to disrupt major routes in the morning to capture government's attention. Disgruntled e-hailing operators will switch off their apps on Tuesday, which is today, in protest of what they say is exploitation by companies in the industry. The strike will last 3 days. They are demanding that e-hailing services, including Uber, Bolt, Didi, and InDriver, be regulated in South Africa and for someone to protect their lives. The Public-Private Transport Association's Batuk Mbelegwa said on Monday governance involvement in regulating e-hailing services would go a long way in eradicating what the organization calls the exploitation of the industry by their app partners. We believe a regulated industry will serve South Africa better. It will curb exploitation. It will end the abusive commissions that we don't have a say in negotiating, he said. Drivers have called for improved earnings in the midst of the petrol price hikes, and it wants the safety of all e-hailing drivers and riders to be prioritized. Despite the warnings of the possible violence from Transport Jacob Mamabolo, the drivers have assured the public their demonstration will be peaceful. A year ago, the Competition Commission found that South Africa's transport system was highly unequal and was integrated. It recommended to government that the regulatory framework for e-hailing and metered taxis should be uniform to create an even competitive environment. Fair enough. There have been years of fighting among e-hailing and metered taxis too, where drivers have been beaten and killed. I know there's been so much tension. I know there's been a lot of tension between e-hailing services, metered taxis, as well as even our public transport that we use on a day-to-day basis. But I mean, all of them serve a greater purpose, and I believe that is to serve the citizens of South Africa. It is convenient. It is so much convenient, especially kwabo bengenazo imoto. Let's bayeka bangenazo imoto, considering the fact that there's another petrol price hike that is lingering in the air that is inevitable in the next month. So you'll find that more and more people are using public transport, more and more people are using private means of transportation, your e-hailing services, the metered taxis too. So we'll find that siyabadinga, now more than ever, perhaps to save a little bit. I know, abanye bethu will also be using lanto kuthiwa mose xa sisherisha kuthiwa namhlanje sahamba ngeyakhe imoto enjalo njalo, to save, because hey, as petrol prices zinyuka every now and again is quite inconvenient. And I mean, I totally agree with the fact that, listen, it would be good to regulate this entire transport system, because it would make or create a rather a more healthy environment, as much as it is competitive, but it'll be a little more healthy. Transport MEC Jacob Mamabolo on Monday called an emergency meeting, pleading with the drivers not to go on strike. I don't know. Despite warnings of the possible violence, the drivers have assured the public that their demonstration will be peaceful. E-hailing apps have run into legal wrangling around the world, with some countries banning it and others complaining about the anti-competitive behavior. So stay tuned. Those in Gauteng, maybe in and around the country as well, who may be affected by this protest, is Iyakuba. Are you getting to work? Are you getting to your respective locations? We know how convenient our Ubers and our Bolts are when we need to get from point A to point B, especially with the looming and continuous petrol hikes. Masigqithe njalo. Driver kodwa ke bathi asizokwazi sifuna uqhuba ngesi strike. They defy the call to suspend the 3-day strike. E-hailing platforms such as Uber Eats, Mr. D, Bolt, and InDriver are expected to be affected when between 50,000 and 70,000 drivers turn off their apps until Thursday. I cannot imagine. The drivers are demanding that the government regulates the industry to ensure fair pricing, accountability, and proper vetting of drivers. The planned action has prompted a call from Gauteng Transport MEC Jacob Mamabolo to drivers to suspend the imminent strike. He called a meeting on Monday with the PPTA, which represents the interests of the e-hailing drivers nationally, to discuss the ramifications. Mamabolo reportedly warned the nationwide shutdown may potentially lead to disruptions, violence, and instability in the transport sector. Hey, it could be such an inconvenience for people, to get to work. If the protest or the strike rather did go on as planned, and the meeting that took place yesterday with the MEC rather, to try and gather the affected, to perhaps suspend it, to try and come to a consensus to ensure that the citizens of South Africa are not affected by this imminent strike. In other news, President Ramaphosa came out to say the Dudula operation is illegal. Ramaphosa issues warning for anti-immigrant groups. Cyril Ramaphosa has warned those behind groups like Operation Dudula that they are breaking the law, and he has urged South Africans to reject the anti-immigrant messages being shared on social media. What is Operation Dudula, you may be asking? Operation Dudula is made up of many South Africans who claim to have legitimate concerns about the hiring policies of certain companies. The group has staged protests in several townships and city centers this year, rallying against illegal immigrants and foreign-owned businesses. The way they see it, undocumented migrants are largely responsible for SA's unemployment crisis. But these views have been challenged by most political organizations in the country, and Operation Dudula has even been denounced by the likes of Action SA and the DA. President Ramaphosa condemns anti-foreigner sentiment. They have a strong online presence, but more recently, organizers have taken to the streets, getting involved in physical confrontations for good measure. It's this type of behavior that is troubling, Cyril Ramaphosa said. The president is vehemently opposed to the concept of anti-foreigner outfit, and he's concerned that Operation Dudula could spark a wave of xenophobic protests across our country. Ramaphosa versus Operation Dudula, the gloves are off. Vigilante justice, another growing problem in Mzansi, is also something that the ANC leader is keen to avoid. The president's condemnation has sent a stern message to Operation Dudula and their top brass. We cannot allow people to use vigilantism to deal with issues. We should not allow ourselves to be at war with those from other countries. Unemployment must not do that to us. Those who set up the organizations such as Operation Dudula are contravening the law. This can turn into outright xenophobia. I mean, he's got a point, you know how easily the lines can get blurred. You know how easy the lines can get blurred. 1 minute we are fighting Nyani, this pandemic, because the pandemic led to unemployment essentially, but it can easily, those lines can easily be blurred. When we talk Operation Dudula, it can easily turn into a xenophobic attack, and that is not what we need for our country at this particular stage. However, Ramaphosa did come out to then say, do not hire foreign nationals. And by that, he means he urges employers to stop hiring undocumented foreign nationals in South Africa. Ramaphosa was delivering his address as part of his Human Rights Day in Costa in the Northwest, Izolo Oku. Should foreign nationals not be employed in South Africa? During his address, Ramaphosa said employers should employ our people, train them and treat them well. And by our people, of course, he means fellow South Africans. Ramaphosa said when employers knowingly hire undocumented foreign workers, they are breaking the law. They are contributing towards social tensions between South Africans and foreign nationals who either live in South Africa or have taken refuge. We should not allow ourselves to be at war with people who come from countries beyond our border. It's un-South African, he said. On Thursday, chaos erupted between seasonal workers from Lesotho and Zimbabwe over alleged competition for farm space between the two groups. Western Cape Chief Inspector David Esau said there are no records from the Department of Employment and Labor indicating that corporate visas were issued for any foreign national to work on those farms. This prompted the department to launch an investigation into the allegations. Ramaphosa then said South Africa is in fact facing challenges of unemployment, but that should not mean that locals should wage war with people from other countries. Once we do that, we evolve or we invoke the spirit of xenophobia, he said. The president also touched on the recent protests against the employment of foreign nationals. Operation Dudula and all these other movements are contravening the law. We must collectively deal with the issue as South Africans. Let us be wise, let us not be violent, and remember that we are a country of diverse people. Let us remember that the Freedom Charter says South Africa belongs to all those who live in South Africa. Hey, said Cyril Ramaphosa. What are your thoughts, listeners? What are your thoughts, viewers? 2210 emaxesheni. You are still tuned into Moment of Truth. And just like we do it on a daily basis, we bring into you fresh moments in current affairs with Usiba Makeleni, born, bred, and buttered in East London. Ito indo, iti kukolomba we-pandemic esiwufeyisayo as a country where unemployment kukho nalo operation Dudula. However, I believe once again lines are being blurred, because when we're talking about employers who are hiring undocumented foreign nationals, then to a certain extent, our people are justified in trying to get this message across to say asiphangeli thina, bona bayaphangela. However, they are not documented, they are not recognized by the employment system or by the labor regulation system. So how do we deal with this? But once again, let us not blur the lines. We do not want or to invoke the spirit of xenophobia, as Cyril Ramaphosa had said yesterday in his speech commemorating the Pansukuti Sharpeville Day, Human Rights Day. In other news, Lewis Hamilton delighted with unexpected third place. Lewis Hamilton has won a record of 103 Formula One Grand Prix, but Mercedes, the 7 times world champion, was all smiles in Bahrain on Sunday after third place exceeded his expectations. This is really the best result we could have got, said Britain, after a season opening race that looked sure to be a struggle after he started 5th behind the Ferraris and the Red Bulls. The retirement of the Red Bulls world champion Max Verstappen and the team made Sergio Perez provided a surprise 183rd career podium for Hamilton behind the Ferrari 1-2 of Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Champions Mercedes have started the sport's new era on a back foot. Hamilton and teammate George Russell wrestling with a bouncing car and warning fans that rivals were clearly quicker. I mean, it was a tough one. Those who are watching will know that it was a tough one. And I mean, I do get why Hamilton was pretty excited about the third place, because it exceeded the expectations, considering how rough the game had started. I woke up this morning hoping, super hoping, that we would have a chance to fight, have a car that's better than we think, or something like that. But we did struggle in the race, Hamilton acknowledged. The 37-year-old had qualified some 7/10 of a second off Leclerc's pole time and looked to set to stay 5th until the Red Bull pair were removed from the reckoning. Whilst we are currently not necessarily performance-wise fighting with these guys, this is not damage limitations, but just a really great result, said Hamilton, winner of the previous 3 Bahrain Grand Prix. Of course, we were unfortunate, but ultimately we've done a better job. We have better reliability. Team boss Toto Wolff said putting both drivers on hard tires had been a wrong move, like hand down the toilet, but the result end was fantastic for a team chasing a 9th successive constructors championship. Wow. Okay, well done. Congratulations to one of the faves, Lewis Hamilton. 43 minutes past 9. And you're still tuned in to Moment of Truth. Let's bring in the soil, Miss City Ingomo.